There are two kind of allowances. First is official allowances, which is said in section 10 subsection 14 of Indian Income Tax Act, and second allowances. Now, official allowances are totally exempt. The reason is it is given for official purpose, right? Maybe it is traveling, maybe it is conveyance allowances, maybe any other allowances given for purely official purpose, purely the allowance given for the purpose of your duty. So those allowances are totally exempt. You don't have to take that in the total income of a person on the income from salary. But there are some other allowances which are either given for the personal purpose or it is given for the job you have performed. Now those things given for the personal purpose are taxable. So we will see one by one which are taxable and which are exempt. First we'll go to the official allowances. The official allowances are the special allowances. So these are the benefits which are given for the assessee or which are given for the employee for the helping the job or for doing his job properly. These allowances are being provided for him. Now they are chargeable for to tax as savings, right? So now traveling allowances. So any cost which is spent for the traveling of the employee or travel or a tour, it may be transportation, it may be packing, it may be transfer or various other kind of things. Those all things are included as traveling allowances. Similarly, daily allowances are also given. Any allowance is granted to meet the ordinary daily charges incurred by the employee. So it is also allowance given for the duty purpose. Conveyance allowance. Any allowance is granted to meet the expenditure incurred on conveyance in the performance of the duty. Right? So maybe he has had some tiffin or some other things while traveling. Apart from traveling, he has spent some money on it. So those all conveyance things has been provided. Helper allowances. To get the work done, the employee is engaged with some helper who is helping to the complete a job. Such helper is engaged for the performance of a duty of the employment. That is a helper allowances. Academic allowances are also given for training, for research, for encouraging research purposes, training pursuits. Different kind of things are given for academic to get a knowledge for the employee for the job or a task. That is academic allowances. Uniform allowances, right? Where in every organization, in some organization, they follow some uniform on some specified days during meeting or during some occasion. In those kind of things where uniforms are being given to the employee or where allowances has been given for buying a uniform, so those are also called as uniform allowances. Now these all things, official allowances, if you see, the allowance should be granted to meet the official expenses only, right? And the allowance is exempt only to the extent which is incurred for the official purpose. Whatever allowance we have seen, from starting to traveling allowance to uniform allowance, these all allowance should be done only for official purpose. Then only these are exempt. And to what extent they are exempt? The amount what you have spent in the business, right, for official purpose, to that extent they are exempt. You can't even charge it more, right? Suppose for the personal use of the employee you are giving and you are considering it as an office expense, no, that is not a right thing, right? That is not a proper allowance. So allowance should be used only for the official purpose and the amount is exempt till the extent of the amount done in expenditure, right? So that is, these are totally exempt. You don't have to consider in tax because these are duty allowance, right? These are job allowance, duty allowance, right? Are not taxable at all. Now let us come to the second type of allowance. These are personal allowance, right? The personal allowance are those which are taxable to some extent, which are exempted to some extent in the beginning, and beyond a limit, these are taxable. Right? Income tax has given a limit. If this allowances is given under that limit, it is exempted. Beyond that limit, it is also taxable. It is taxable, right? So the special allowance or a benefit of the following types are exempt to the extent of the amount of allowance or the amount specified in the rule 2, right, BB, which is lower as per the section 10 subsection 14 subsection 2, right? So we have to see the different kind of allowances here, and what is the rule related to that allowance we have to study. First is children's education allowance. Suppose an employer is providing an education allowance, right, to an employee. In that case, it is exempt up to 100 rupees per month per child up to 2 children, right? 100 rupees per month per child for 2 children only. If employee is having more children, like maybe 3 or 4 children, and employer is providing some 300 rupees per month for each child, in that case you have to calculate the exempted and taxable education allowances. What is the exempted limit? 100 rupees per month into 2 children into 12 you have to do for number of months. So you will get taxable education allowances, exempted education allowances. In actual education allowances, if you remove exempted education allowances, the remaining balance what you get will be called as taxable education allowances. Okay, now the second allowance is hostel allowances. So hostel allowance are these are granted to meet the employee or the hostel expenditure on his child. Now employee has sent his children for education at some other place where he is bearing a cost of hostel and employer is paying that cost. So to what extent hostel allowance is exempt? So it is 300 rupees per month per child up to 2 children, right? Remember, it is 300 rupees per month per child up to 2 children. Hostel allowance is exempt. Beyond this, suppose employer is giving 500 rupees per month per child up to 2 children, right? Now how much is taxable? Can anybody tell me? 500 rupees per month for 2 children, employer is giving you the allowance. So how much is taxable? How much is taxable? The third allowance, that is transport allowance. Okay, now transport allowance, it should be granted to an employee who is blind, deaf, dumb, or orthopedically handicapped with a disability of lower extremities to meet his expenditure for the purpose of commuting between the place of his residence and the place of his duty is exempt up to 3,200 rupees per month. Now these are provided for the special employees, right? These employees who have some disabilities, right? Whether they are blind, deaf, dumb, or orthopedically they are handicapped, right? In that case, this allowance is granted to the these particular employees, and these are exempt up to 3,200 rupees per month. Beyond that, it is taxable. Suppose employee is providing 5,000 rupees per month to these kind of employees, right? Now excess whatever is there beyond 3,200, it is taxable, and up to 3,200 rupees it is exempt, right? This is the third allowance which we can consider. Fourth is outstation allowances. Now outstation allowances are any allowances granted to an employee working in a transport system to meet his personal expenditure during his duty performed in the course of running of such transport from one place to another place is called as outstation allowances. So these are generally provided for those people who are either involved in the transport sector or they are doing some personal expenditures during the transportation services or transportation job. They are spending their personal expenditures. For such employees or for such workers, when expenditures are provided or allowances are given, those are called as outstation allowances. Now such allowances is given in lieu of daily allowances. Instead of daily allowances, these allowances are given. Now this is exempt to the extent of least of the following. Now out of this, whichever is less, that is exempt. So that is 70% of allowance or 10,000 rupees per month. 70% of the allowances given by the employer or 10,000 rupees per month. Out of these two, whichever is less, so that is exempted, and more than that amount of it is particularly taxable. Second, fifth is underground allowances. Underground allowances are granted to an employee who is working in uncongenial, unnatural climate in underground mines is exempt up to 800 rupees per month. Now some employees, they may be working in mines, right? They may be working in unnatural climate, right? Where they are going under some below the earth, and they are going doing job in the mine areas, which is very risky also. In that case, the allowance again given, additional allowance given to that those employees or workers apart from their basic and other allowances, those allowances are called as underground allowances, and that is exempt up to 800 rupees per month. Beyond 800 rupees per month, it is also taxable. Which any other allowances is fully chargeable to tax. Right now we saw two category of allowances. First category was fully exempt. Those are duty allowances, like we saw conveyance allowance, traveling allowance are totally exempt. Second type of allowance we saw it where some were exempt, means some percentage was exempt, some percentage was taxable, partly taxable, partly exempted, that we saw. Now there are third category of allowances, third category, which is said in section 17 subsection 1. These other allowances or other allowances is fully chargeable to tax. Here neither they are exempt nor partly they are taxable, it is fully chargeable to tax by the income tax. So which are those kind of allowances which are fully chargeable to tax? Those are city compensatory allowances, cash allowances, split duty allowances, overtime allowances, medical allowances, servant allowances, tiffin allowances, deputation allowances, officiating allowances, closing allowances, non-practicing allowances, entertainment allowances. Now, subject to deduction under section 16 subsection 2. Similarly, there are any number of other personal allowances also, which are again non-taxable. So we will see the things. Okay, first of all, the standard deduction. Currently, standard deduction is lower of the following: gross salary and rupees 40,000. Out of this two, whichever is lower, that is deduction, right? Gross salary of the total employee or rupees 40,000. So that is called as the standard deduction. Now entertainment allowance, the case where the government employee, in this case the government employee only, the deduction will be list of the following. Out of this list of the following for the government employee is applicable. That is entertainment allowance received 20% of the basic salary and 5,000 rupees. So in this three, whichever is less, it is exempted, and more than this, it is taxable. Professional tax or employment tax, it is subjected to the constitutional liable under any other law, and if the amount is due but not paid, deduction is not allowed in this particular case. This is for the professional tax what they are paying. So directly we will give you professional tax that we have to deduct in the gross salary. While solving the problem, we will come to know about it. Then perquisites. There are different perquisites which should be considered. Okay, before it's. So perquisites are those things which are given apart from the salaries to facilitate the employee, to help the employee. Now what are the things which are taxable for the perquisites? Those are rent-free accommodation, accommodation at concessional rate, motor car facilities, gardener, watchman, sweeper, gas, electricity, water, education facility, transport facility, payment by the employer on behalf of employee, payment of insurance premium on behalf of employee, specified security or sweet equity shares, any contribution to an approved superannuation fund by the employer, any other French benefit, loan to the employee either at the concessional rate or free of interest, expenditure in connection with traveling, touring, or accommodation to the employee. Rule number 3. Then free refreshment or foods to the employee, any gift, voucher, or a token, expenses on credit card, club membership, use of movable assets, transfer of movable assets, any other benefits, medical facility, leave travel concession. Okay, so these all things what just now we saw are the perquisites, right? Perquisites which are taxable, and what there are some rules also applicable about taxability and exemption limit of this perquisites. We will see that rules. Okay, now the first is rent-free accommodation, which is said in section 17 subsection 2, right? Rule number 3. So that says a rent-free accommodation perquisite value shall depend upon the category of employee, what category he is having. And for this purpose, employee may be divided into 2 categories, right? First of all, the first category is government employee, right? The first category to find out rent-free accommodation is government employee. In case of central government, state government employees, they provide accommodation to their employees. Perquisite value shall be the license fees determined as per the government rule, right? So now government will tell you directly the perquisites value, right? They give you directly value itself. So that value whatever government has given us, it is the accommodation for the employee or a perquisite value as per the license fees. Now if the furniture is also provided along with the house, right, for the government employee, furniture is also provided. The TV is provided, sofa is provided. So other facilities, whatever furniture is required to the house, those all furniture, well furnished house is there. Everything is provided with that. So now appliances, equipments, each and everything are provided. In that case, 10% per annum of cost of furniture, right? So if such furniture is hired from the third party, then in that case the actual higher charges payable, so that has to be added. It becomes the value of rent-free accommodation for the government employee, but license fees will be given by the central government or state government. That you have to consider. Now second is where the accommodation is second is other employees or non-government employees, right? Apart from central government and state government, there are so many employees who are working in private sectors. Now for those employees, this second rule is applicable. Where the accommodation is owned by the employer, the area or the place where employee is staying, it is owned by the employer. In that case, if the population is up to 10 lakh, right? If the population of the city is up to 10 lakh, 7.5% of rent-free accommodation, 7.5% is a rent-free accommodation. 7.5% of salary is rent-free accommodation, right? Then similarly, if the population is more than 10 lakh, but up to 25 lakhs, right? Between 10 to 25 lakhs. In that case, 10% of salary, right, will be the rent-free accommodation. 10% he has told, that means 10% of salary will be rent-free accommodation. Then, if the population is more than 25 lakhs, in that case, 15% of the salary will be the rent-free accommodation, right? So this is where the accommodation is owned by the employer. Now, coming back to where the accommodation is taken on lease or rent by the employer. In that case, amount of lease rent paid or payable or 15% of rent-free accommodation salary, right? 15% of salary for rent-free accommodation. Whichever is lower, that will be called as the value of rent-free accommodation if the house is hired. Now, what is the salary? Salary for RFA. Salary for rent-free accommodation. That is basic plus DA if it forms the part of salary for the retirement benefit. Then taxable portion of all allowances, bonus, commission, fees, any other payment in cash like regular pension or leave salary, in lieu of duty to the parade, the accommodation is occupied. So these all things are included. Then the sum total of this, whatever you get, it is called as salary of RFA, right? So now, as we know, the important notes you should know, rent-free accommodation salary should include basic pay plus DA, as I told you, dearness allowances. If it forms the part of benefit, which means retirement benefit, benefits as per service agreement, taxable portion of all allowances, whether education allowance, hostel allowance, right, conveyance allowance, each and every other allowances what are taxable, no, the portion of taxable allowance should be included. Bonus, commission, fees, then any other payment in cash, regular pension or leave salary or any other things. Then salary only from the parade for which rent-free accommodation is provided shall be taken into consideration, right? From the parade for which rent-free accommodation is provided, from that parade to the parade you are taken, only that many things has to be taken in the salary. Now in this case, furniture is also provided along with the house. If the furniture is provided along with the house, if employer has provided furniture like TV, refrigerator, in such case value determined above shall be increased as 10% per annum of cost of furniture. If furniture is higher, then the value of unfurnished accommodation shall be actual higher charges should be added. So then it becomes the total value of furnished house.